What's up, guys? How we doing today? Hope y'all are doing fantastic. Today's video, we're going to be talking about the Constitution and being biased amongst the Constitution and, whatnot. But anyway, that's what we're going to talk about today, being biased and the Constitution. So stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. Okay, anyway, about the Constitution. And I know a lot of people are, on both sides, because this might get a little political. So, and I'm pretty sure some of you might be biased about, the hat I'm wearing, either or. Some of you might like it, some of you may hate it. And that's kind of the point to my video. Not necessarily, but kind of. But, and both sides of the political spectrum, they're both about the Constitution. They're both fighting for the Constitution and whatnot. But it seems like, and this happens on both sides, but I think we all, even me included, we all have bias, and this doesn't just go towards the Constitution, and I'll get into that a little bit too. But like we got the difference between the gun controllers and the gun rights. We've got the two, and we've got the censorship because of disinformation, and we've got the non-censorship, the First Amendment, and but these same people that are fighting for censorship are also claiming to fight for the First Amendment, and then when you hear, well, I'm all about the Second Amendment, but here comes your bias. Here comes your bias, and that's the problem. We all have biases. We all have, and like I said, disinformation on the social medias and the mainstream medias. They want a censorship. They've been doing that for a while, and Elon Musk has kind of come out and, with him buying Twitter and all that, he kind of put a stop to that. And then, on X now, they're kind of maybe not to as much of a degree, but they're also censoring people, and they're suspending accounts for certain things. And maybe there's some things that, but I don't think it's for disinformation. I think it's more they might consider it a threat or whatever. I don't, but is that going against our First Amendment right by any kind of censorship? And a lot of it is like, why can one side do it but the other side can't? Like when the left does it, the right gets all pissed off. But when the right does it, the left gets all, it goes both ways. And it's like, hypocrite much? I mean, why is it okay for you but not for them? And whether it's against the Constitution or not. And the Second Amendment, it's like, shall not be infringed. Well, I mean, what really is the exact definition of infringed, and what does, because there's a lot of, I mean, it's pretty straightforward and right to the point, shall not be infringed. But there's also some gray area there, like some of these, what they call common sense gun laws. Could they technically be legit? And I'm not saying, and I'm just trying to get you to think about it on the other side. I try to do that. I try to think on both sides. I try to see both sides of the picture, and maybe try and understand both sides of the argument, because they could both be true and they could both be false. There's truths on both sides and there's lies on both sides. But when there's some that are like some of them are like some of the self-defense laws that we have, are those really infringements? Because I mean, there's some that are common sense, and if we had common sense gun ownership, and most of us do. I'm not pointing any fingers saying that us as a whole don't have common sense gun ownership, but there are those few that kind of ruin it. Like there's been a few stories that I've even come on my channel and talked about that is it really self-defense? Did you really need to shoot the person? I mean, you were carrying your gun, awesome. You used it when you thought you did, awesome. But was it really legit self-defense? Like this guy, I don't know what happened, if what happened to him, but he jumped out of it. He pulled up to an ATM on the side, jumped out of his car, left it running, ran to the ATM real quick, left the car unlocked and running. Some guy jumped in it and drove off. And as he was driving away, the owner pulled out his gun and shot him through the back window, hit him in the head, and killed him. Common sense. I mean, was your life in danger? Was that really self-defense? Did you really need to? I understand where your thought process was. Oh, he's stealing my car. And I don't know if Pennsylvania has castle doctrine. I don't know if that's considered castle doctrine, or I don't know I don't know Pennsylvania's laws. I don't live in Pennsylvania, nor do I even live anywhere close to Pennsylvania. But it's like, if everybody across the board had more common sense gun ownership, we wouldn't have a need for all these common sense gun laws. And I know that, and I get that, the gun controllers, the people that really want to take the guns there, they have an agenda, and that's not their thing. Isn't common sense. Their thing is, let's get guns out. We know that. But there again, there come some of my biases out there. I'm just stating that because, is that really the case? But anyway, that's not. But there's other things too. There's common sense. But some of these laws that they're trying to come out with, not necessarily laws, but there was one. It was in Minnesota, I believe. I could be wrong, but Minnesota. They have duty to retreat. Like, you must retreat at all costs, unless absolutely necessary, which is common sense anyway. Lethal force is a last resort, technically. But they tried bringing in a bill to kind of overturn that duty to retreat. Is duty to retreat, is that an infringement? I mean, you can still carry your gun. It's not going against any kind of guns you can carry. It's just kind of like when you're allowed to use it. So, I mean, it could be an infringement, but it could not be an infringement. I mean, if we use common sense, we know when it's a good idea to shoot, and that's why we train. That's why we get training and we practice, and we do scenario-based training. I mean, you are training, right? And that's what we train for. We get our mindset to where we should know, and training isn't real life. I mean, it's when it's really happening, your adrenaline's pumping. I totally get it, that your first instinct is, well, here we go, and you pull it and you shoot it, and then after the fact, you're like, well, that wasn't really totally necessary. The guy's driving away in my car. I'm not at risk. I'm not in any kind of danger. He's driving away in my car. He's 50 yards down the road, 20 yards, whatever. He's driving away from me. But I know with the adrenaline pumping, and I don't know if he got any kind of conviction or anything for that or anything, but it's just our biases in our Constitution. We're fighting for the, it sounds like we're fighting for the same thing. We're fighting for the Constitution, but I know that with, both sides of the political spectrum, it's hard, because both sides accuse the other side of being totally wrong. Like, and I know the agenda of the left is, if there's any kind of shooting, they go straight for the weapon, not for the reason why the shooting happened. They go for the tool that they use. They go for what, and that's infringement, is going after he used an AR-15 in this thing, instead of going like, well, what was wrong with him? Why did he do it? What was his motive? They care more about the tool than the reason. And that's a big problem. And we see that, but the right has their problems too with stuff. They, like for instance, this new case that's happened, this Carmelo Anthony thing. I'm sure most of you have heard about this. It's all over the place, but which I'm surprised, because it was a black kid that stabbed a white kid. So I'm surprised they're even still talking about it, but they are. but there's a lot of people that are most likely on the right, Second Amendment advocates, First Amendment advocates. Don't, you can't, don't censor me, don't steal my guns, don't, but yet they're quick to judge and convict this kid that before they even have any, you'll see it all over. He needs to be in prison for the rest of his life. He's guilty. There's no question. He did it. He needs to be locked up. He needs to be put in prison. I can't believe they let him out. The Constitution states that he's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. He's not guilty until proven innocent on Facebook. I mean, everybody has an opinion. I have an opinion too. I'm not gonna lie. I think he's guilty, but I don't know all the evidence. Maybe there's evidence showing something different. I mean, obviously he stabbed somebody and killed him, so I'm not saying killing is good, and there's a lot of evidence that we know, that I know, that would lead me to believe he's guilty. But I'm not the judge, I'm not the jury. And he's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, not on Facebook, not what everybody thinks. And because of all this bias that we have, I don't believe he's going to get a fair trial. Either he's going to get let go because of bias, or he's going to get locked up because of bias. Or it's going to be a hung jury because of bias, because half's going to be for him, half's going to be against him, and there's not going to be any meeting in the middle. And just like politics, there's no... So it's like, I mean, we all have a little bit of bias, and and off of the political stage, it happens everywhere. It happens, we're biased to the brand of gun we buy, you Glock guys are Glock or die, type of thing. And, the SIG guys are the same way. SIG are, Nike guys, people that wear Nike, that's all they wear. That's all I wear. Everything else, nope. I only wear Nikes. We all have bias in us. I won't eat McDonald's. Yuck, gross. McDonald's is gross. I'm not gonna lie about that one. McDonald's is gross, but you get my point here. We all have bias to some degree. We all watch the influencers, the YouTube influencers, or the media, or the whatever. We all watch the ones that we agree with the most, with what our biases are, and that's the thing. And we try to stick what we believe in. But that's what I'm trying to get you guys to think about. Think on the other side. Think about it both ways. Get their side of the story too, and find out why. I mean, providing they're doing it for the right reason, find out why they would want to do that. Why. Find out why they want common sense gun laws. Well, because there's dumb people out there that don't use common sense gun ownership. There's people out there, and the few ruin it for the many. I always say that all the time. The few ruin it for the many. The few bad ones ruin it for all the good ones. We're all technically supposed to be law-abiding gun owners and whatever. If you're not a gun owner, that's good on you. If you don't believe in it, no, you do you. But we all sound like we're fighting for the same Constitution. We're all about the Constitution, and that's cool. But we need to go full board Constitution. We need to, because this kid, Carmelo Anthony, he's technically innocent until he's proven guilty in a court of law. I mean, but again, I don't think he's going to get a fair trial because of all the bias and all the racism, if you will, because, if they get, people are going to be scared to convict him, because if they convict him, there's going to be George Floyd riots all over again. Or if they set him free, then it's going to be all over, and they're going to, so it doesn't really matter. I don't think he's going to get a fair trial either way. Plus it could go to a biased judge. Even judges are biased, as you haven't seen in the news. There's a few judges that are basically trying to block everything that the president's doing, which they don't care. They just block Trump. I don't care what it is. It could be give every citizen $1 million, and nope, sorry, we ain't doing that. Nope, Trump, nope, nope. It's bias, and we all have bias. Who here likes Chevys? Who here likes Fords? We all have biases. We're all biased to some degree, and that's not that that's a bad thing, because if we all believed in the exact same thing, if there was no bias, we wouldn't. The world would be pretty boring if everybody liked the same stuff. If nobody could disagree, the world would be boring. But when you're talking about Constitution, when you say you're a Second Amendment advocate, and because the Constitution says so, and because then don't go trying to say that somebody's guilty. Don't go and try and already hang him. He deserves a life sentence. What makes you think he deserves a life sentence? I mean, do you have all the facts and all the data? And there's people there that have done a lot more than that have gotten out. So it's like, really, you really think he deserves a life sentence? You're not the judge. You're not the jury. You're not. But anyway, starting to ramble. We're having, like I said, bias. We all have bias. It's natural, and not that it's a bad thing, but we just need to try and, on the important stuff like the Constitution, if we're gonna say we support the Constitution 100%, we uphold the Constitution. We need to uphold all of the Constitution, not just the parts that benefit us. And I'm guilty of that too. Until I started thinking about it, I was like, you know what, this is I believe he's guilty, because I was like that too. Oh yeah, he killed him. He's done. Before I got really all of the facts, I had already had him convicted. But now that facts are starting to come in, I still think I still feel he's guilty. My bias still says he's guilty, but now that facts are coming in, and I started thinking about, the Constitution, I was like, you know what, he's technically innocent until proven guilty. So, we've got to, he's innocent until we've compiled all of the facts, and he's been convicted and he's been found guilty by a jury of his peers. And unfortunately, they're going to have a hard time finding a full unbiased jury to try this case, because there's, everybody has bias. Everybody's already made up their mind on whether he's guilty, or whether it's self-defense, or whether he was just protecting himself, or whether it was just, everybody's already got an opinion, and it's going to be hard to find an unbiased jury for this one. A lot of these cases are that way, they're all, especially if it involves both races, because there's so much racism out there, and I try to look at it as just a kid killed a kid. I try to look at it that way, because that's what happened. A kid killed a kid. Yeah, there's other evidence than that, but basically, leave skin color out of it. A kid just killed a kid. But anyway, appreciate y'all. Love you. Do the YouTube stuff. If you want, like, subscribe, comment. You know the drill. I don't have to tell you that. Just do the stuff, and stay aware. Have situational awareness. Talk about, and then but carry a weapon of whatever, some self-defense, so you can defend yourself if needed, because the world's getting crazy and it's not going to get any better anytime soon, if at all. So just, protect yourself, stay aware of your surroundings, and, because you never know what's behind you or on the next to you. You never know what the person next to you is going to do. And so anyway, like I said, carry a gun, stay aware, do the YouTube stuff. Links will be below to all the stuff, and appreciate y'all. Love you. We'll see you in the next one.